Hi everyone and welcome to Paris Fashion Week. We see that, for example, at Victoria Beckham. I have to confess, I absolutely love Victoria Beckham's past two collections that she's shown in Paris. And also, because we're talking a lot about tonal dressing, these colours blend really well with any of the chocolate brown colours that you might have invested in last season and the season before. Don't get rid of them, just mix them in to these softer shades that are going to keep you looking elegant and relevant through the next season. And stay tuned because we're going to go through my favourite shows and how to wear the looks in real life. I'm Aleksandra Olenska and I've worked as a creative director and stylist for luxury brands including Chanel, Celine and Vanessa Bruno, as well as magazines including Vogue and Harper's Bazaar. And I've been featured in international press including Forbes, Elle, The Sunday Times and The Independent. I now help directors and leaders in midlife and beyond to rebalance that work, busy lifestyle you've become accustomed to. Because you know life's too short to stay in that career-driven comfort zone. I help you to redesign and restyle your life, especially at midlife with life-changing transitions, such as the breakup of relationship, divorce, menopause, or turning 40 and beyond. From your home and your wardrobe to your mind and social life, I help you with your stylish next chapter to step into your best life, because I know you're ready to rock life again. Perhaps the show that references the 1980s the most this season is the Saint Laurent show from Anthony Vaccarello. So yes, we're seeing huge shoulders at his shows and then skinnier bottoms. I find this interesting in itself. We've really got some of these softer leggings coming through. And I think this is quite interesting that while we want to dress up, we also want to be comfortable. So I think this is quite interesting, this idea of wearing leggings and then with some tailoring or some unstructured tailoring or with something a bit more sparkly up top. During COVID, during confinement, a lot of us were wearing really comfortable clothes. And especially at midlife, we want to feel ourselves. We want to represent ourselves through our style, but we also want to still feel comfortable, right? We don't want to feel trussed up or that awful expression, mutton dressed like lamb, right? We want to still feel elegant and casual and, wear clothes that are easy as we're rushing around doing a million and one things. So I think the very fact that Vaccarello, the creative director of Saint Laurent, put the leggings with the more structured tops in is quite telling of what women really want to wear right now, even if we might not want to take it to the extreme of his quite 1980s inspired collection. Last season, he did a beautiful collection inspired very much by Grace Jones with these incredibly draped dresses. So it's no surprise that we see the 80s influence continuing through into this season in his new collection. Styling-wise, we also saw aviator glasses worn by all of his models, these sorts of dark, Top Gun almost inspired aviator glasses. And we also saw a profundance of 10 denier tights. I love a thin black stocking. Again, perhaps it's something reminding me of my childhood, although I do ladder them rather too easily and I have no solutions for that. But sometimes they can feel a bit dated, these sorts of very thin black shiny tights, and sometimes they feel absolutely right for now. And I think that the fact that Vaccarello has paired the 10 denier tights and stockings with these aviator glasses in all of or most of the looks in the collection is a great styling tip that we can take. Maybe you can be wearing jeans and just pop a pair of, dare I say pop socks, like 10 denier pop socks underneath. Just little touches that can give you that updated vibe to your wardrobe. And get out your old aviator glasses. It's time for them again. Earlier I was talking about this idea of unstructured structure that we're seeing across the board in all of the shows, but also about mixing a softer element in with that, and that's really the new way to wear structure. So in this Saint Laurent show with these hugely wide shouldered jackets, for me, one of the most effective ways of wearing this in the show was with giant capes and shawls and scarves draped over the tailored shoulders. So you've got this very sharp, oversized, sort of quite masculine line, and then you've got the femininity and the softness of a draped cashmere over the top. Really great. And he rendered those in plaid and grey. And plaid and grey is nothing revolutionary for fall, but they're definitely making a comeback for next autumn winter. And I think that's sort of connected to another trend that we're seeing at the Paris shows, which is for the make, do and mend aesthetic, which again you're always going to get in times of economical difficulty, because fashion represents what's going on in the socio-economical climate in the zeitgeist. So at Anthony Vaccarello, at Saint Laurent, just like at Hermes, we're seeing tonal outfits in shades such as caramel and grey. We're seeing this sort of idea of romance and softness with chiffon paired with the sexy allure of leather, and like these really beautiful quality shiny leather pieces. So this reminds us to play with juxtaposition in our own homes and wardrobes. Also at Vaccarello at Saint Laurent, we're seeing these big sort of clip-on button earrings, which I think are quite fun and a very easy way to refresh a very basic look. That could be jeans and a t-shirt, right? It could be a button down with your favorite wide pants. Other Paris shows, Schiaparelli did their first ready-to-wear show. So I have to confess, I'm a huge Elsa Schiaparelli fan, the surrealist designer from the 1930s. The house went dormant for a long, long time and was recently revived, showing initially just haute couture pieces. And they've made loads of crazy gold accessories that you've probably seen worn at the Met Gala, worn at the Oscars, by actresses and models and influencers. Bella Hadid wore a huge gold, looked like lungs almost, breast piece, for example. So the accessories have really taken off, and I wouldn't be surprised if they launch a more ready-to-wear accessories line shortly. So for the first ready-to-wear collection for Schiaparelli in modern times that we saw last week at Paris Fashion Week, I have to confess it wasn't my favourite show, but one thing I did love about it was, again, those rich browns. There was a velvet, sort of caramel velvet colour, again, ushering in this new textural revolution. It sounds a bit poncy, doesn't it? New textural revolution in clothes, but you know, lovely textures to be worn together. We want to feel good in our clothes, right? As I said before, like a sexy leather with a soft velvet underneath. Gorgeous for next season. So yeah, what I really loved about the Schiaparelli collection was that he took an idea that Elsa Schiaparelli had in the 1930s, which were these buttons. She did this famous circus collection that many designers, including John Galliano when he was working with Dior, have been influenced by. And all of the buttons were like little performers or little shapes. And Schiaparelli was really a surrealist designer. You know, she collaborated a lot with Salvador Dali, for example. And we see those surrealist echoes in the way that the brand has been revived recently. So the thing I really loved about the collection was the buttons, which were gold and in a variety of funny shapes. I don't know if any of you have seen the film The Man Who Came to Dinner from 1942, and the lead actress in this, in a key pivotal scene, Anne Sheridan, she wears this beautiful sort of blouse jacket top. Actually, it's quite interesting. You can see her nipples through it, which is, you know, seems so progressive for that time. And it had these big gold buttons, very, very Elsa Schiaparelli influenced. I think they might have been shaped like thumbs, like little hands like this. Anyway, I love the way that you can use bold gold buttons in heart shapes, in swirl shapes, in little hand shapes to refresh your wardrobe next season. You can go and get some, you know, whatever quality cashmere you can afford, be that Uniqlo, Eric Bompard or Chanel, and change the buttons. Get some buttons from, you know, Liberty of London or your local haberdashery supplier, or online. Etsy has a great selection, and just go for it with some of these bolder buttons on your blazers, on your knitwear, to update some of your older pieces with pizzazz. Maybe uncharacteristically wearing a black dress today, I was also very inspired by the darks that are coming through for autumn winter next year. Alexander McQueen, it will be no surprise to have lots of darks. We've also got some sort of dark glittery colours coming in, which again we saw at Hermes with those dark draped glittery sort of red skirts and tops and dresses. So it's dark, but it's got a sense of optimism to it, I could say. In this idea of challenging masculinity, we also saw, and I think this is quite interesting, that at Dior and Valentino, at both of these shows we saw models, female models with shirts and ties, or at least dresses that communicated that idea of shirts and ties going down the catwalk. We've had a massive trend for gender fluidity in the past few seasons, and I don't think this is that, but I do think it's quite interesting that very feminine designers at the moment, Valentino, love, one of my favorite brands of all time, and in the past few seasons we've seen lots of pinks and lots of colors and lots of joy, and now we've seen a real black and white collection, predominantly, although there were some reds in there as well, and reds and pale blue, some quite interesting color combinations actually. Red is a dominant color, overtaking the pinks, not only at Valentino but on many shows this season. Quite interesting to wear the red with the pale blue, very seasonally appropriate. Go and see what you've got in your wardrobe that you can mix together to refresh your wardrobe using what you already have. But yeah, it's quite interesting, these shirts and ties, or dresses with ties coming from them. Quite a sultry, seductive, feminine way to introduce ties. It's quite a feminine way to look at gender fluidity. And again, with these oversized blazers that I've been talking about, it's not about repeating power dressing. It's perhaps, in a subtle way, fashion deconstructing ideas of power and deconstructing ideas of masculinity. That's going to be really interesting to see how that sort of makes it onto the sidewalk, from the catwalk to the sidewalk, we always say, in the coming seasons. What's going to go from the catwalk into the stores? Because as you know, the catwalk is there to inspire us. It's great to look at the shows for inspiration, because fashion is about capturing the zeitgeist, the air du temps, and the catwalk shows are there to visually summarize and represent that air du temps on the catwalk. So it can be really useful to look at for inspiration, even if you know that you're not going to wear the looks as they are on the catwalk. And then there's this trickle-down process where the buyers are buying, certain pieces from the catwalk collections, and they'll also have more commercial versions of them rendered for the stores. So there is going to be a shift. But for me, I think it's also interesting. At Midlife, we've got full wardrobes already, and sometimes it's about taking the pieces that we've already got, shopping our own wardrobes and putting them together. I'll be making a video later on where I raid my own wardrobe, use my existing pieces and nod to the new season later on in the coming months. So one of the final shows that I loved from this season in Paris was the Dries Van Noten show, a Belgian designer. When I used to go to Dries Van Noten shows in Paris Fashion Week, they were always a moment of calm, a moment to pause. They were really human. At fashion shows, they can be a little bit bitchy sometimes. Maybe people at the front row don't speak to the second row. Maybe people around you, it's all quite cliquey. It's all about who you know. But at the Dries Van Noten shows, there was always little refreshments coming around. It felt very charming. And that's really what his clothes are like too. They're very charming. They're not massively trend-led. You can have a Dries Van Noten piece from 20 years ago and still wear it today. And they've always got this handcrafted quality, a love of textiles, of embroideries, a joy of craftsmanship. So what we saw in Dries Van Noten show this season was nothing radical. Beautiful gold leafing. I remember once going to one of his shows and the whole catwalk had been gold leafed. And as the models walked, little flutters of gold blew into the audience. His sets are always really beautiful, and it's always quite an emotional experience in a gentle way going to a Dries Van Noten show. His invitation, similarly, the gold leaf show, I remember that the invitation was a chocolate with a little gold leaf on. Really thoughtful, considered designs, and that sort of seeps into all aspects of the brand identity. So this season we saw Dries Van Noten really returning to his roots. He was one of the famous Belgian designers to come out of Antwerp in the 90s, and we see some 90s references coming through. You know that I love a slip dress. This is actually a long slip dress from the row, and Dries Van Noten has returned to the slip dress this season in his own collections. He's really playing with that idea of make, do and mend, the revival of the joy of craft. that we're all seeing, not only because of the economy at the moment, but also because of fashion's nod to sustainability. It's becoming increasingly fashionable to repair your clothes, to alter your clothes. All these things that our mothers or grandmothers did, that sort of lost their way in the slew of fast fashion, are becoming fashionable again, with lots of services available like Restory, where they restore your shoes, your clothes, so that you can buy designer pieces and know that somebody is out there. There are craftsmen still out there, thank goodness, who can repair things and alter them for us. Oh, I lied, there's one more show that I thought I'd talk about, and it's Loewe. Oh, I love Loewe. I love the brand. I've spoken about my passion for this brand before, the love of craftsmanship of the brand, and the sort of modernity that JW Anderson has brought to the brand. Sarah Moa at British Vogue described it as classicism meeting something which is new. And I think that that's something that we all look for at Midlife, where we've invested in good quality pieces, we found pieces that suit us, and now we want to find a way of making those looks that we've had for a while to look new, right? For them to look fresh. Loewe JW Anderson in his fashion shows is a very intelligent designer, and maybe quite an intellectual designer. I mentioned earlier Victoria Beckham and her use of feathers. We saw a sort of organza feather, gentle organza petals or feathers coming through in the Loewe show. So again, that idea of mixing textures, replete with some beautiful leather, of course, which is what Loewe is famous for. Again, we saw those slightly oversized, unstructured silhouettes, and that feeling of comfort and simplicity, which is what we all want to wear right now. One model even looked as if she had a silk sheet draped around her as a dress. I'm not sure I'll be brave enough to wear that one, but I do love this idea of comfort dressing, but still looking very chic, sophisticated, and put together in a casual way. We saw languid, slouchy silhouettes with a cocooning feel. Doesn't that description just make you want to feel great? Lots of overly long sleeves, which is something that we've been seeing for a few seasons now. And again, an easy way to pep up a look wherever you bought it from, just to pull down the sleeves to make them a little bit older and more modern, as opposed to like a bracelet sleeve that's feeling a little bit dated right now. Although I personally love them because of my proportions. And I have to give a special nod at Loewe to look 30, which was this beautiful butter-coloured, softly tailored yellow coat. I'd never thought that a yellow coat would be something that I would desire for my wardrobe until last season, when the Row did this incredible yellow cashmere cocoon coat. It was rather above my price point, but absolutely stunning. And now I see that JW Anderson at Loewe has done a more classical version using a very similar colour. And frankly, I love butter, and a butter coloured coat is going to be a lot better for the calorie count on my thighs than the amount of butter that I tend to put on my delicious French bread. So look out for all of these things: the return to new elegance, the unstructured, slouchy, cocoony, textural mix of tonal colours and delicious, yummy textures that we're going to be wearing. Vaccarello said himself that he wanted to re-explore ideas of modern elegance and to redefine what that is, and I'm going to be thinking about that for some coming videos. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let me know what your favourite pieces are from the collections, or what your favourite trends are for the coming seasons. I'll see you very soon. Bye bye, à la prochaine, bye bye.